Welcome to my waxwork. Would you care for a closer look?
Oh, no thank you. That one is creeping me out. Kind of looks like he's breathing.
What? No, that's just, animatronics.
Animatronics? In a wax figure? Wouldn't all the gears and motors heat up and melt the wax?
Would you just shut up and cross the rope already? Hey everyone, welcome to Mike's Little Lookbacks. On this episode, we're going back to 1988 to explore a film that pays homage to some of the greatest horror movies of all time. This is my little look back at Waxwork.
Waxwork is a horror comedy about a group of rich college kids that visit a mysterious wax museum that has appeared in their neighborhood, only to find out that the exhibits are more than they appear. The film was written and directed by Anthony Hickox, and it was his writing and directing debut. He would go on to direct a number of horror films, including The Sundown, Vampire in Retreat, Hellraiser 3: Hell on Earth, and Warlock the Armageddon, before transitioning into low-budget action flicks such as Stormcatcher and Jill the Ripper, both starring Dolph Lundgren, and the Steven Seagal classic Submerged.
I'm sorry. I couldn't even write a joke here because the behind the scenes on Submerged is already too funny. According to Hickox, the movie was supposed to be a sci-fi horror about a sub stuck at the bottom of the ocean being attacked by aliens. Seagal came on board, initially saying that he liked the script, and then 3 weeks before filming said he didn't want it to take place on a submarine and didn't like the aliens and monsters because he didn't want to be in a monster movie. So they basically had to rewrite the whole film. And I guess we're actually filming a lot of times without a script because of this very fact. And Seagal apparently got into beefs with the director, the crew, and his co-stars. It's even reported that the crew snuck cat urine and feces into all of Seagal's meals after he complained about his co-star, William Hope, feeding stray cats on the set. Look, this video is not about Submerged. But if you want a video on it, I will suffer through it for you. Just let me know in the comments.
Hickox ran into the opportunity to make a film, literally. He accidentally crashed into the car of Staffan Ehrenberg, a would-be producer who was looking for a commercial project. The two men got to talking, and when Staffan learned that Hickox was looking to make a horror film, he gave it a chance, offering to pay for the script on delivery. Hickox then wrote the script for Waxwork in 3 days. What sold Staffan on the film was all the nods to the classic horror movies of old. Studios, however, were not as keen on the script as everyone they shopped it to passed on the project. Eventually, it was greenlit by Vestron Pictures, who had also initially passed on it, but a friend of Hickox who knew someone at Vestron got him to take a second look.
Oh, sure, it sounds easy if you have a friend of a friend in the industry. I don't even have a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. If I did, then one of my 6 screenplays would definitely be a low-budget Netflix film made in Bulgaria already. Come on, Hollywood. Or off Hollywood. Vampires vs. Zombies is begging to be made. And sure, the title sounds dumb, but the movie isn't. Okay, this is why I'm not allowed in pitch meetings.
The film stars Zach Galligan as Mark Loftmore, a rich, pampered college kid. Zach was already fairly known at this point after starring as Billy Peltzer in 1984's Gremlins. The rest of the college kids were played by Deborah Foreman as Sarah, Michelle Johnson as China, Dana Ashbrook as Tony, Claire Carey as Gemma, and Eric Brown as James. The rest of the cast for this low-budget film was quite impressive, even if people only had a scene or two. John Rhys Davies, Miles O'Keefe, Kenneth Campbell, and Patrick McNee all bring their A-games to the film. The icing on the cake was the villain, played by the always enjoyable David Warner.
I mean, how can you not love anything with David Warner in it? Come on. Time Bandits, Tron, Twin Peaks, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, multiple Star Trek projects, Titanic, Freakazoid, Spider-Man the Animated Series, Batman the Animated Series, Doctor Who, Penny Dreadful. I mean, the man was an international treasure. And he is dearly missed.
The production had a small budget of only $3.5 million. It was a non-union production that reportedly had issues with the Teamsters trying to disrupt their shoots. Despite the disruption attempts, filming went smoothly until the end when the production became in danger of going over schedule and budget. It was at this point that the film's completion bond company stepped in and told Hickox that he had one shooting day to get the big final battle scene of the film shot. It was a monumental task, but the cast and crew knuckled down and got it done. The makeup and effects team had the sizable task of bringing the following movie monsters to life: Dracula, the Phantom of the Opera, the Mummy, a werewolf, Jack the Ripper, Frankenstein's monster, Rosemary's Baby, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the Invisible Man, a voodoo priest, a witch, an axe murderer, an alien, a giant man-eating Venus flytrap, and a lot of zombies. Production also wanted to include Jason Voorhees, the creature from John Carpenter's The Thing, and some of the children from the Village of the Damned, but couldn't due to legal reasons.
I mean, Jason and the Thing monster, I get. I do. But the kids from the Village of the Damned, really? They're lame! Hey, what are you guys doing? What? Hey, not cool. Not cool. Okay, you guys can be in the movie. You guys can be in the movie. You can, okay? All right, we cool? Woo, we're cool.
The film opened on June 17, 1988 to a limited release in the United States and grossed just over $800,000. The film was also released on Vestron Video later that same year, where it would be seen by a much wider audience. Would it have been a financial success with a wider release? Hard to say. While it holds a 60% Rotten Tomatoes critic score today, it only has a 47% audience score. The film also had a comic adaptation published in November of 1988, and despite its lack of financial success, it got a sequel in 1992. Anthony Hickox returned as writer-director, and Zach Galligan also returned to star. Waxwork 2: Lost in Time was supposed to have a theatrical release, but it ended up going straight to video on June 16th of 1992. And holy shit, if you've never seen it, I highly recommend you do. Not because it's good, but because it's an experience. I put it right up there with House 2: The Second Story or Gremlins 2: The New Batch for the way it gives zero shits and just goes completely off the rails.
I have fond memories of Waxwork from when I was a kid, and I still watch it around the spooky season sometimes as an adult. But have I been viewing it with the nostalgia goggles on? Let's find out in this recap of Waxwork. The film opens on a stormy night at a large house with a song choice that screams more 80s comedy than horror. And while this is a horror comedy, I certainly didn't expect this. Inside the house, two men are struggling near a fireplace until one man pushes the other's head into the fire, all while this swing bop plays in the background. Honestly, who murders someone to this kind of soundtrack? Well, Patrick Bateman might. The one man dies from having his head set on fire, while the other ransacks a bunch of items out of some glass cases before the music transitions into what feels more appropriate for the setting. We cut to a large dining room where our main character Mark sits opposite his mother at a ridiculously long table, having some riveting breakfast conversation.
When are you going to let me have some coffee in the morning?
I mean, you know it's bad for you.
But, Mom, I need the caffeine badly.
Yeah, Mom, you wouldn't like Mark when he gets upset. Well, I imagine he just gets really whiny, so none of us are going to like him when he gets upset. Also, you guys are rich, so you probably have pocket money. Just stop and get a coffee on the way to school. I mean, sure, Starbucks weren't on every corner in the 80s, but coffee shops have been around forever. I mean, if Robert Zemeckis has taught me anything, it's that they've been around since at least 1955.
Just give me something without any sugar in it, okay? Something without sugar.
As Mark leaves the house, his butler sneaks him a cigarette and an empty cup that he claims has coffee in it.
Thank you.
I'll never understand giving an actor an empty cup. Look, I've worked on films. I know that you have to do multiple takes, and you don't want your actor filling up on fluids, but come on, this is a short scene, and even just a mouthful of water in that cup would have sold the weight of it, not to mention it would have looked like he actually drank something, and that's not a jab at Zach's acting ability. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis couldn't have convinced me there was liquid in that cup. Next, we meet more of our stereotypes. Characters. China and Sarah. China is the slut of the group that Mark previously had a relationship with, and Sarah is the prude. As they're walking, they find themselves in front of a building that Sarah claims she's never seen before. The ladies are then startled by Willy Wonka's cousin? Question mark?
I'm sorry, ladies. Did I startle you?
Heart attack, maybe. Startle, no.
I believe this character's name does eventually get revealed in the film, but the credits just have him listed as Waxwork Man, so I'll just be referring to him as Willie Waxwork from now on. Anyway, he tells the girls that he's having a private viewing at midnight, and they can bring friends, but no more than 6, and he's very particular on that point. Sarah finds Willie creepy, but China seems infatuated and looks at him with come f*** me eyes. Right, because she's the slut. Right, that's my bad. I forgot she doesn't have a real personality. At school, Mark arrives late to his class where I'm pretty sure a Nazi is teaching a class about Nazi history.
Otherwise, you would have attended the first 15 minutes of the lecture. Yeah.
Later in the day, at football practice, we learn more about the situation between Mark and China. They apparently dated, but China has moved on to a jock named Jonathan. Jonathan teases Mark from the football field. What? A jock bully? Ooh, I look forward to seeing him get some comeuppance later in the film. Sorry, I thought I'd turn this thing off. Hello? Oh, it's the writer-director of the movie. Hey, what's up, Tony? Sorry, Mr. Hickox, yes. What can I do for you? We only see Jonathan one more time in the movie, and his end isn't even seen in a satisfying way. Bummer. Thanks for calling. Hey, while I have you, were you on shrooms or something when you wrote Waxwork 2? Hello? He hung up. We meet the entire group of friends. Wait, how many of them are there? 6? Well, isn't that convenient? Anyway, they all discuss their plans for the night. Mark has to research and write a 60-page report for his Nazi professor. Wait, 60 pages in one night? Stephen King couldn't put out 60 pages in one night, and he'd be making it all up. I sincerely doubt Mark's Encyclopedia Britannica has all the info he needs on Lithuania and dictators.
They got me a computer, a video camera, a compact disc player, but the problem is, hardly any of this stuff can really help me with my schoolwork.
There is something you could have which would help you a lot. Do you know what that is?
No, but I'm afraid you're going to tell me.
Yes. It's the new Encyclopedia Britannica.
Encyclopedia Britannica. Now you tell me. I've got a report due tomorrow.
The group decides to check out the waxwork. Later that night, when they're preparing to leave, Mark and China get into a beef. Mark is upset that they're broken up. China tells Mark that she needs to be taken care of and that Mark doesn't have that certain I don't know what. She's the slut, so she wants a sugar daddy. Yes. Okay, that explains a lot. No wonder Willie Waxwork was revving her engine earlier. She probably assumes he's loaded. The gang heads to the waxwork, but get a little freaked out when they get there. 2 of the teens realize they forgot their golden tickets and opt to go home before even making it to the front door. Mark leads the way for the others and is greeted at the door.
Welcome to the Waxwork!
Guys, I know I've been making Willy Wonka jokes ever since David Warner first appeared in that costume in the movie, but this place has its own Oompa Loompa, okay? There is no convincing me that Tony Hickox didn't have Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory on in the background when he wrote this script. What is happening here? The kids head inside and the Oompa Loompa seems disappointed that there's only 4 of them. They are then let into the waxwork where they see a bunch of gruesome depictions all rendered in wax. Oh, they're so lifelike. It's like they're not even wax at all, just actors trying not to move. Well, eat your heart out, Madame Tussauds. Anyway, the funny guy of the group, Tony, finds himself looking at a werewolf exhibit. He goes to light a cigarette when his lighter jumps out of his hand into the exhibit. Despite knowing that you never cross the red rope, Tony does it anyway and finds himself transported to the woods where he's forced to wear a shitty wig. He then delivers one of my favorite lines from the film.
All right. Who put the acid in my drink again? China?
Tony assumes his friends are messing with him and goes along with it. He finds a cabin with John Rhys Davies inside, and Mr. Davies is not excited to see Tony. He tells him to get out. Tony plays along and goes to get some wood, and we see that there is a full moon out, and when Tony returns to the cabin, he finds that John Rhys Davies has become a werewolf.
Hey boys, this ain't fun anymore! Get the hell out of here!
The werewolf attacks and bites Tony. A hunter and his assistant show up, and they are just way too casual about the fact that there's a werewolf in front of them.
Leave it!
If you knew there was a werewolf about, why didn't you show up with a silver bullet loaded into the gun? Anyway, the hunter's assistant gets torn in half before the hunter can kill the werewolf. Tony then starts to turn into a werewolf before being killed by the hunter, which results in... See, this is just like Willy Wonka. The kids break the rules, and they get punished one by one. Although, I think Tony would agree with me that the punishments are a tad more severe here. Also, tip of the hat to the makeup and effects department. This werewolf looks great. I think it still holds up and looks better than a lot of the digital crap we see today. While everyone splits up to view different exhibits, Budget Winona Ryder finds a wax figure that she'd like to because she's the slut. She enters the exhibit to find herself in a gothic castle, and she's just in time for dinner.
Please be seated.
Oh yeah, these guys are definitely vampires. At least they seem well cultured. I spoke too soon. China pretends to eat by spitting the meat bits into her napkin, though she empties that bowl by the end, and there is no way all that fit in her napkin. Not to mention, she's wearing an all-white dress. I mean, there would definitely be some blood in her lap for sure. Anyway, at the end of the meal, China is shown to her room. One of Dracula's children show up and try some necking. I feel like a chipped tooth would be a death sentence for a vampire. Ow! 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 China runs away and finds herself in a white-tiled room where the fiancé of the character she is playing in the vignette is being held, and this guy's leg wound is a delightfully nasty effect. China starts screaming that none of this is real and that it's just a sick game. She then gets attacked by the Count's children, and to her credit, she bests all of them, though I don't really know if that's due to her skill or their ineptitude. China is nearly at the castle's exit when she encounters the Count. She encounters the Count. She's a slut and gets hot for teacher and lets him bite her, thus making her part of the waxwork diorama. Sarah finds herself standing in front of a wax figure in leather pants and a fabulous wig. It's supposed to be the Marquis de Sade, and it's bringing out her inner slut.
Where the hell are they?
Oh, way to cockblock, Mark. Or whatever the Marquis was into. S&M? Way to dom block, Mark. Anyway, after thinking their friends went home, Mark and Sarah leave. Not to worry, though, because Jonathan found out from China's mother that she went to the waxwork. So he shows up for a little light stalking, and, so that Willie Waxwork could deliver his catchphrase.
Would you like a closer look?
Really?
Step in, please.
Outside Sarah's building, she and Mark almost kiss, but
I'm looking for something else.
she's looking for leather pants and a horse crop, maybe a cat o' nine tails or a ball gag. Anyway, Mark returns home to see if his maid has finished writing his 60-page report for him.
My English is not so good.
No, that's okay. Great footnotes and everything.
Well, I see why Mark is having others write his papers for him. He's clearly an idiot who can't even count to 60. That's like 4 pages tops. The next day, everyone finds out that China and Tony never came home after the waxwork. Mark thinks they've been boiled in wax and goes to the police.
You're telling me that they've been kidnapped and boiled in wax?
No. Mark, you don't lead with boiled in wax. That's what makes you sound crazy. Please tell me you don't say anything else stupid.
Now watch this. This weird little tiny guy who's addicted to helium is going to open the door.
Weird and tiny, huh?
Mark. Just say your friends are missing and that this is the last place you saw them. Or say nothing. Nothing also works. Anyway, we learn here that Willie Waxwork is a snazzy dresser, and also the detective decides to look around the exhibits with Willie as his guide. The detective stops to admire the mummy scene, and then Willie gets just a little too handsy.
Sure you wouldn't like a closer look? Really, I must be going.
Jesus, I'm pretty sure that was assaulting an officer in the course of his duty. Anyway, the detective leaves having found nothing. Mark decides that something needs to be done. He goes to the school and does his worst Ferris Bueller impression to get Sarah out of class. Wait, aren't you supposed to be in college? Like, what college has lockers? Back at the police station, the detective is thinking back to the exhibits and how they look like some of the missing people, so he decides to go back and check. He crosses the rope of the vampire scene and doesn't get sent anywhere, so once a scene has claimed a victim, it becomes inert. The detective takes a sample from China's wax face. Meanwhile, at Mark's house in the attic, this happens. What the f*** just happened? She was about to orgasm from just seeing the Marquee's name on a book. Sarah, you got some issues to work out. Mark finds an old newspaper that reveals the scene from the movie's opening happened some years ago. The man that died was Mark's grandfather, and that Willie Waxwork was the prime suspect. Also, he doesn't seem to have aged since then, so they assume something foul is going on. But hey, Cher hasn't aged in years either, and she's not evil. At least I don't think she is.
Snap out of it!
Back at the waxwork, the detective enters the mummy exhibit and meets his end, getting sealed in a tomb. Fortunately, his partner was waiting for him outside and goes in after him once it's been too long. Who the f*** taught you how to clear a room? I'm glad you're dead, I really am. Anyway, Mark and Sarah go visit a man named Sir Wilfrid and tell him about the waxwork. Sir Wilfrid then gives some exposition.
By making a wax effigy of an evil being, containing a belonging of his that he possessed in earthly form, and feeding him the soul of a believing victim.
Say what now? I want to say that like half of those exhibits were of creatures or characters from fiction. Like, what do you mean from their earthly time? Werewolves, vampires, Frankenstein's monster, and mummies do not exist in the real world, so what are we doing here? That is a huge leap in logic to take, but okay, alright, let's say this movie is set in a world where Dracula was real. A museum that comes to life and kills people really shouldn't be a hard sell to the police now, should it? Sir Wilfrid tells Mark and Sarah that they need to go burn down the waxwork, and they head off to do it, but Mark is, Mark's useless, and Sarah can't start a fire when her panties are so wet for the Marquis de Sade. Each of them end up in an exhibit. Sarah is getting pleasured to death, while Mark is trapped in black and white. Mark quickly finds the exit to the point in history when the world was in black and white, and the zombie apocalypse happened. You see, this is the kind of thing that makes the plot even more nonsensical. If the world were ever in black and white, and the dead started rising from the grave to eat brains, somebody would have noticed. Alright, you already had the harvesting souls for the devil thing going. Just say that the exhibits bring the victim's fear to life and harvest their souls, giving the devil the power to escape hell once you've gotten all 18 souls or whatever it is. Then having the things from movies and books would make sense. But I digress. Mark finds the exit but can't get past the invisible barrier. He then decides that none of what is happening is real, which allows him to escape. What kills me though is that he doesn't seem sure he's right, but he escapes just fine. China also said that what was happening wasn't real and with about the same level of conviction as Mark and still got vamped. Anyway, Mark makes his way into the Marquee de Sade exhibit to rescue Sarah, only she doesn't want to be saved.
I don't want to leave. Don't let him take me.
I'd also like to point out that the Marquee has been whipping Sarah almost to the point of death, and yet she only has these like tiny lines on her back. No, her back would be split the open, and considering how graphic they've been with other parts of this movie, I don't know why they dialed it back here. Anyway, Mark comes in and immediately just has the most incredible sexual chemistry with the Marquis de Sade.
Your friend has quite an imagination.
Shoot me! Hit me! Or are you scared?
Mark finally convinces Sarah that none of this is real, and they escape, only to be immediately captured. And then for some reason, the two friends who couldn't be convinced to enter this place as a group show up on their own and immediately enter the Marquee and zombie exhibits, thus completing the ritual and allowing all those actors to stop standing still. Fun little side note, the actor playing Frankenstein's monster is Kane Hodder, who would go on to become most known for playing Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th. I only find this interesting since they wanted to feature Jason in the film. Anyway, Sir Wilfrid shows up with a bunch of old men, and we get... well, we get a rushed final battle that feels like it was filmed in a day, because it was. I'll give the filmmakers credit for getting it done, but it's mostly just people running at each other with punch sound effects thrown in. Sarah and Mark fight the now evil versions of their friends, killing them in fairly unexciting ways. The big brawl does have a few highlights, including a gag with the Marquis de Sade, who has to keep fixing his hair after killing someone until he finally gets fed up and puts on a bandana, and Dracula turning into a small bat and then getting shot in the face by somebody doing a poor Dirty Harry impersonation. Finally, someone manages to light the building on fire, which immediately starts a chain of explosions. And just bravo. Bravo to the filmmakers for the realism, because if there's one thing people know about Wax, it's how explosive it is. Mark gets into a duel with the Marquis, who toys with him. The Marquis is about to kill him when Sarah gets the drop on the Marquis from behind with an axe. Then, for a change of pace, Willie Waxwork is about to kill Mark and Sarah when Sir Wilfrid gets the drop on him from the side with a pistol. Tisk tisk. Willie should know better than anyone that his wax should never be touched by human hands. Can't say I blame him though. I mean, looks like he's diving into a giant glass of strawberry milk.
Huh? Strawberry flavor quick in milk. It'll tickle you pink.
Not content with being dead, Willie gets one final jump scare while just really trying to make his catchphrase a thing.
Would you like a closer look?
Sir Wilfrid then gets his head torn off by a werewolf before the entire area gets engulfed in flames. Sarah and Mark are the only two to make it outside, where we get some fire compositing, followed by some model work. I'm sorry, but fire it doesn't scale well. You need bigger models to make that look real. Anyway, the movie ends with your standard horror movie sequel teaser. I didn't add that music. That is legitimately the end credits song. between that and Sing 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 with a Swing for the opening, I feel some poor decisions were made in the music department, which is a shame because the score is great and feels very appropriate for the genre. I don't know. Maybe I'm judging it too quickly.
Would you like a closer look?
No, I'm good. This movie is a curiosity. It will always hold a special place in my heart because of my fondness for it as a kid, but it's not great. Where the film shines are all the little horror vignettes, which are all well shot, well acted, and with decent makeup and effects. Where it struggles is the rest of the narrative stringing all the vignettes together. There's just too many elements that don't quite come together, and we don't really spend enough time with any of the characters to really give a crap when they die. I still think the overall experience is a lot of fun, and if you've never seen it, I would recommend giving it a watch. I mean, as far as low-budget horror movies from the 80s go, you could do a lot worse.
We'll make a movie about anything nowadays.
What are your thoughts on Waxwork? Is it something you saw when it came out on VHS, or was this the first time you've heard of it? If you were going to be murdered by a wax figure of a horror icon, who would you want it to be? Let me know in the comments below. As always, if there is something from your childhood you want to see me tackle on this show, mention it in the comments. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go stick someone's head in the fire.
Mom, I need the caffeine.
Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and a share. Don't forget to subscribe and click that bell icon to be notified when more Little Look Back episodes go up. And we've got a lot of other cool, nostalgic shows on the channel, so stick around because you might find something else that you like.